2 years ago, I was drowning in credit card debt. Every single penny I made was going straight out to all of my bills. I was stressed out every single day. But today, I'm paying down my debt and I'm saving for retirement. If you're feeling behind at 50, stick with me. I'm going to show you exactly how I turn this around. If you're new here, I'm on a journey to create a slower, simpler life in my second half. And let me tell you, you can't have peace when you're buried in debt. In my last video, I talked about my husband and I's plan for our retirement, our goals. Today I'm going to talk about how we're funding it. I was in debt just 2 years ago. How am I already saving money for retirement? Well, it was scary. It was terrifying, but it was absolutely worth it. And I'm going to share my journey with you. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's talk about the real messy middle of getting your finances together at 50. 2 years ago, my husband and I were $48,000 in credit card debt. My minimum monthly payments were taking up 90% of my take-home pay. I would wake up every single day with a knot in my stomach. I would check my bank account and I just felt defeated. I was working hard, making decent money, and I had nothing to show for it. Zero retirement funds, absolutely no emergency savings, nothing but debt. And the worst part, I did the math. And if I didn't get help, it would take me about 10 years to pay off the $43,000 over multiple credit cards. It would take me until I was 60 years old to pay off all of my debt. How was I going to save for retirement if I was busy paying down my debt for 10 years? That's when I realized I had to do something about it. Something had to change. So in January of 2023, I did some research and I reached out to a debt consolidation company. I was very skeptical. I was very nervous. It was not the first time in my life that I've ever had to utilize a debt consolidation company. I was familiar with how it ruins your credit score and all of the stress and kind of admitting defeat, that you couldn't do it by yourself. But I was desperate for help. It simplified everything for me. There was 6 or 7 credit cards, 6 or 7 payments. Now I just had one payment for all of my cards, and they did the negotiating for me. I set it up so the payments came out of my bank account twice a month, right after I got paid. That was the first place my money went, was towards this debt consolidation. And for the first time in years, I could finally see a light at the end of the tunnel. And I could now start saving for retirement instead of just worrying and living paycheck to paycheck. But before you think this is easy, let me tell you about the hard part. The debt consolidation was just as stressful as having the debt hanging over my head, at least in the beginning. What they don't advertise is that you cannot make any payments to any of your credit cards for the first 3 months. So your credit score is tanking. You are now having negative remarks on your credit score. And it is terrifying. You have all these creditors reaching out to you saying overdue, overdue, overdue. And for someone who prides themselves on paying their bills on time and doing, the best to pay the minimum every single month, this was excruciating to not make a payment and to know that my credit report was getting hit every single month by all of these cards. My credit score ended up dropping 100 points to 620. It was rough, and I'm still recovering. But then the offer letters started coming in, and I started getting emails from my debt consolidation company telling me this creditor wants to settle for this much. And most of them, it was half of the debt that I owed. And I was so incredibly grateful. Knowing that all of my bills were being taken care of and set up to be paid on a schedule with a plan. It took a load off. I cannot tell you the anxiety I had every day, all day, worrying about all of the bills that I owed, calculating, making all these lists and charts and trying to figure out a way that I could get out of this debt, just my husband and I, without any help. And we couldn't do it. There was no way that we could do it. I have had financial issues in the past, and it's because I was never taught about how to deal with money. The only financial training that I had was how to take care of your checkbook, and that was in high school. I was never taught how to properly handle money, and it showed. I had a bankruptcy. This is my second or third time using a debt consolidation company. I am 50 years old, and I was not raised to be financially fit, but that has changed. So I've been working with that debt consolidation company since February of 2023. In April of this year, in 2025, my husband and I finally got to a place where we were able to reach out to a financial advisor. We had been consistently paying down our debt, making the payments twice a month, every month since, 2023. And now we had set up a budget where we had some money. Wasn't a lot of money, but it was enough money. And we sat down with financial advisor and we set up a plan for retirement. We got life insurance policies. We got a Roth IRA. We got mutual funds, and we personally have an emergency fund and long-term savings set up. Now, my husband and I split our bills 50-50, so we each contribute $500 a month towards the life insurance, Roth, and the mutual funds. We already have the $1,000 emergency savings fund. That was one of the very first things that we worked on. And we contribute about $250 a month to our long-term savings. Now, when our debt consolidation program is done, that is $600 a month. We will then take that $600 and that will also go towards our long-term savings. And as I mentioned in a couple of videos back, my husband just got a new job that pays quite a bit more than what he was currently getting paid. So that also will go towards an increase in our retirement contribution every month. We are well on our way to retiring how we want. It's very realistic for us. Like I said, it's 2 years, almost 3 years. And depending on your circumstances, it may be shorter, it may be a little longer, but it's a start. 2 years ago when we were in debt, and $43,000 may be a drop in the bucket to you, or it may be completely astounding, but that was the most debt I had ever been in my entire life. I've been working since I was 15 years old. I've always tried to pay all of my bills and not, overdo my shopping. But this, because we didn't budget, we got married and bought a house a relatively short amount of time. And so it got away from us real quick. And so because I'm responsible with my money and I do the best that I can, it bothered me so much that I wouldn't have chosen another way. I am so grateful that I did the debt consolidation. Despite it hurting my credit score, it really was worth it. I mean, I can build my credit score back up within a year, I would say. And, we are moving in a year's time, so that would give me 2 years before we actually purchase another home, because we will rent once we move. And we own our car outright. We don't really need any credit at the moment, so it worked out perfectly for us. But I highly recommend, if you are struggling and you are in debt up to your eyeballs and you feel stuck, maybe look into debt consolidation company. I would go through the Better Business Bureau. I would look up the companies and I would find a reputable one. But do be aware it will ding your credit report. But if you don't need credit, it's a great way to start to get paying down your debt so that you can start saving for retirement. So looking back 2 years ago, I was stressed out, I was unhappy, I was overwhelmed, and I needed help. And looking at me today, I'm paying down my debt, I'm contributing towards my retirement, and I'm rebuilding my credit. It's such a difference. But today, I have hope. I have a plan, and I am proof that it is never too late to turn things around. If you're in midlife and you feel like you are too far behind, I want you to hear this. You still have 15 to 25 years to build something, depending on your age, but you have to start. The best time to start was 20 years ago. The second best time to start is today. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have an amazing week.